In the misty outskirts of France, as the 19th century drew to a close, stood the decaying remnants of Ravenshade Manor, its once grand facade now crumbled, ivy creeping over weathered stone like grasping fingers. No living soul called this place home, save for a single, relentless inhabitant, a grandfather clock that refused to fall silent. Those brave or foolish enough to seek shelter within its walls spoke of it in hushed tones. The sound it made was not the crisp, reassuring tick of time marching forward. No, this clock's voice was a slow, ponderous thing, a dragging heartbeat that seemed to pull at the very fabric of reality. Tick, an eternity of silence. Talk, ... the world holding its breath. Tick, ... talk, ... On an autumn evening, when the sky wept cold tears and wind howled through bare branches, a scholar named Victor found himself at the manor's iron gates. Rain plastered his coat to his skin, and the promise of dry shelter overcame his initial hesitation. The gates creaked open at his touch, as if welcoming him into an embrace he would never escape. The grand hall greeted Victor with the musty perfume of neglect. Damp wood, mouldering fabric, and the ever-present dust formed a symphony of decay for his senses. Against the far wall loomed the clock, its face a pale moon in the gloom. The pendulum swung with agonizing slowness, each movement hypnotic in its inevitability. Victor settled into a threadbare armchair, grateful for any respite from the storm. He struck a match, attempting to coax life into the hearth. The flame sputtered weakly, casting more shadows than light, before surrendering to the oppressive darkness. Hours crawled by, marked only by that incessant, maddening rhythm. Tick, ... talk, ... tick, ... talk. The house seemed to breathe around him, walls contracting with each swing of the pendulum. Victor found his eyelids growing heavier, the clock's tempo a lullaby he couldn't resist. As consciousness began to slip away, something stirred in the spaces between sounds. At first, he dismissed it as the wind, or his own imagination. But slowly, insidiously, whispers began to take shape. They started as mere sighs, barely audible exhalations. Then, with growing clarity, words formed in the silence. ... stay awake, ... or be mine, ... double quotes. Victor jerked upright, heart pounding. He rubbed his eyes furiously, willing himself to full alertness. But the drowsy pull of the clock's rhythm was relentless. It tugged at his mind like an undertow, threatening to drag him under. Panic rising, he stumbled to his feet. The exit, he needed to leave this place, to escape the suffocating weight of time made tangible. His hands found the door handle, cold and unyielding beneath his fingers. He pulled, then pushed, then threw his whole body against the unyielding wood. The manor, it seemed, had no intention of releasing its newfound guest. Frantic now, Victor's gaze darted back to the clock. Its hands no longer marked the passage of hours. They had frozen at the stroke of midnight, a permanent reminder of the moment time lost all meaning. Yet still, that cursed pendulum swung, back and forth, each movement accompanied by whispers that grew louder, more insistent. Join us, they seemed to say. Become one with the endless ticking. Victor pressed his hands to his ears, but it made no difference. The sound, the whispers, they came from within now. His own heartbeat began to slow, to match the ponderous rhythm of the clock. He felt his will to resist ebbing away with each passing second. The shadows in the corners of the room began to move, to coalesce into shapes almost human. They drifted closer, their edges blurring with the darkness that crept at the edges of Victor's vision. He wanted to run, to scream, but his body felt leaden, unresponsive. The final thing Victor felt before darkness swallowed him whole was a touch. A hand, cold as the grave, brushed against his shoulder. The whisper, no longer distant, but right against his ear, echoed one last time. Now you will tick, ... with me. And then, silence. A silence so profound it seemed to swallow even the memory of sound. When dawn broke, pale light filtering through grimy windows, Ravenshade Manor stood as it always had, imposing, decaying, a monument to time's relentless march. But those who passed by on the lonely road swore something had changed. The clock, that eternal sentinel, sounded different now. Where once it had marked time in solitary vigil, now its voice had found a companion. 2 beats, perfectly in sync, echoed through the empty halls. Tick ... talk ... Like 2 hearts, bound together in eternal slumber. Travelers hurried past the gates, urging their horses to a quicker pace. They told themselves it was merely the wind playing tricks, or their own imaginations running wild. But in the back of their minds, a nagging fear took root. For in that rhythmic sound, they heard a warning, a reminder that time is not always the benevolent force we believe it to be. In Ravenshade Manor, time had become a predator, patient, relentless, always waiting for the unwary to stumble into its embrace. And with each passing day, the clock's song grew stronger. 2 beats became 3, then 4, a growing chorus of souls trapped in its never-ending dance. The locals whispered tales of the manor's curse. They spoke of travelers who ventured too close, lured by the promise of shelter or driven by curiosity. How they were never seen again, their disappearances marked only by the subtle change in the clock's rhythm. Priests were called to exorcise the evil, but none dared cross the threshold. Scholars came to study the phenomenon, armed with logic and reason. They, too, fell silent, their notes and instruments abandoned on the manor's steps. As years passed, a fog seemed to settle permanently around Ravenshade Manor. It cloaked the decaying structure in a shroud of mystery, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. Those who lived nearby learned to avoid its gaze, to plug their ears against the hypnotic call of its eternal timekeeper. But on quiet nights, when the wind died down and the world held its breath, the sound could still be heard. A chorus of lost souls, trapped in an endless loop of ticks and tocks, a reminder that some horrors do not need blood and violence to chill the soul. Sometimes, the greatest fear comes from the slow, inexorable march of time itself. The knowledge that every second brings us closer to an end we cannot escape, no matter how desperately we might try. And so Ravenshade Manor stands, a monument to a different kind of terror. Not the sudden shock of a nightmare, but the creeping dread of inevitability. It waits, patient as only time can be, for the next unwary traveler to seek shelter within its walls, for the next soul to join its ever-growing symphony of the damned. In the end, perhaps that is the true horror of Ravenshade Manor. Not that it kills, but that it preserves. It offers a twisted form of immortality, an endless existence trapped within the relentless march of seconds, a fate where consciousness never fades, where the mind remains aware even as the body succumbs to time's embrace. For those who know its secret, the tick of a clock will never again be a comforting sound. It becomes a reminder of the fate that awaits us all, should we let our guard down for even a moment. In the shadows between seconds, in the silence between ticks, something waits, always hungry, always patient, ready to welcome us into its never-ending dance. Tick, tock, tick, The clock of Ravenshade Manor continues its vigil, a beacon for lost souls and a warning to the living. Its song echoes through time, a testament to the horrors that lurk in the quiet places, in the moments we think ourselves safe. And with each passing day, its chorus grows stronger, its hunger more insatiable. Beware the endless clock, for once you fall into its rhythm, you may never escape the dance of eternity.